Hey everybody, Michael Kelly again. This time I'm sharing with you one of my favorite apps that I've been using in the last year or so. It's remind.com. So this is available as a website, but you can also use a app that is free to download for Apple and Android phones, which is how I often use it on the go. So if you go to remind.com, you get to a login screen. As with a lot of these things, you can log straight in with your Google account, which is what I recommend. And you'll get here. Now, I've already got a bunch of classes, but I'll still walk you through the best I can. So you want to create your first class. You got to create a class over here. You can give it whatever name you want. If you're doing this for your classes, you could create one joint class for everybody, or you could break it up by period. It's up to you. I usually do a joint class because almost all the communications I send are to everyone, but totally your call. They'll give you a pre-generated class code that your students can enter. Usually it's pretty random. You can enter your own, but keep in mind that it's pretty limited on the number of characters it can use, and anything that's been taken before won't be available. So if you're like English 10, they'll tell you right away that it's not available. If you're like English 10 Saxton, see, it has to be 10 characters or less. So you have a limited kind of leeway if you want to make your own class code. Um, if you want to use like your last name though, and then the grade level or something, Monica, if you're watching this, thanks for letting me borrow your last name. That can work, pretty well. All right, so let's say Kelly 95. Should never have to use that. Should default to Blake High School. I only message people 13 or older. That should be fine for all of you. You can decheck that if you're ever doing like a middle school camp or something, but for now, this is the best way to use it. You can change the icon later, but if you want to make the icon relate to what you're doing more, this is kind of these two are the best, I guess, or these three for English classes, unless you want to do an Apple. All right, so you say create. Now, you've got a bunch of ways to get people added to your class. You can enter people. And by the way, people can be on remind.com either through their email or their phone number. I highly recommend, whenever possible, to get phone numbers for students, because that way the Remind app actually texts them, which we know students check their texts much more frequently than they check their email. So I recommend you do that whenever possible. But you can do email as a backup if you think they'll check it. I try to get parents on this as well. There, it's not as big of a problem if they only give an email address, but this is the slowest way to do it. I only usually use this direct entry for when I'm catching up on people who I somehow missed with the initial entry. You can do a printable PDF of instructions, which will basically tell you how to do the stuff. So let me show you this. So the easiest way is to log in through your phone. So if you have a smartphone, you can go to this website. You'll see that it's RMD for remind.at/ and then whatever the class code was, in this case, Kelly95. Or just a regular phone with texting. You can text the phone number 81010 and at the class code again. So you need the at sign in front of it. And then if they go to rmd.at/Kelly95, they can also sign up through email if a phone is not an option for any of them. So there's a nice little PDF you could put up. You can either, just write this information into a Google slide, but you could also put this information up on My MCPS Classroom or Google Classroom and let them sign up that way. So once they sign up, there's a little X button. Let me go to my classes that I actually have. So you'll get this tab. You've got messages, you've got people. People shows you everyone that's signed up and whether they're a student, a teacher, which is me here, or parent, although they have to select that. Sometimes you have the ability to change what they selected. If they select the wrong thing, you see when they joined. You can add more parents and family members. So that can be kind of nice. You've got some options for sorting here, because you'll see they like to sort by the first name first, which is not too useful. but you can sort by last name instead if you click on this little sorting button here. So it is a nice way to check through, like comparing to your roster and see who has not signed up yet. And then you've got some other controls over here. So you can put them in another class. You can make them the owner of the class. Don't do that. Remove from a class if somebody gets in there accidentally. Any of that kind of stuff. Now, messages is where you're going to be doing the majority of your stuff. So you click this little writing thing, and you can do a class announcement, a group conversation, or individual message. Let's start with class announcement, the one you'll be using most often. So you can type. You'll notice you've got a 140 character limit, kind of like Twitter. So you do have to be careful with how long your messages are. Hey everyone, don't forget the quiz tomorrow. Have a nice night. Okay. Now you've got two options. You can send it, which I don't want to do because my AP Lang students will be very confused about the quiz they're having in the summer. Or one of my favorite things. So, by the way, you can upload files or add photos or videos, so you can make things a little more interesting if you want. You can schedule the message for the future. You click here, you get a little clickable selection of the upcoming dates. You get here, you get a little by 5 minute time frame. For my like homework reminders and stuff, I usually like to send them around 4:30 or 5 or even 5:30 when I'm pretty sure students will be home or on their way home from sports practices and clubs and all that kind of stuff. Then you click schedule, and they'll automatically get that text at the time you scheduled. So it's really nice if you know like a lot of things are coming up for the week. You can just in about 5 minutes do every single message for the entire week and just schedule each of them. And once you've got something scheduled, so here is your message history, and you can see like the messages you sent. For scheduled things, you'll see they pop up down here. You can click on them and edit them or get rid of them. So again, let's get rid of that so my AP students are not surprised. You can see previous conversations you've had with individual students or with smaller groups of students. So to show you how that works, you still click the same little message thing. Group conversation lets you select from the list of all the students, so you can message just the 5 students that owe you detention, or just the 3 students that didn't turn in their essay yet, however you want to do it, or do individual messages. You search, and you get the student. You click on them, and you get a little message thing. And this does not have a character limit, so you can write longer messages. And important to note, I probably should have said this at the front end, they will not have your texting number and you will not have theirs. So everything is private that way. And, if you have a student who's abusing the system, you can, remove them from Remind and they'll have no way to contact your phone again. So you do have that privacy there. Students cannot talk to each other through this, in case you're worried about it being abused in that way also. It's just a direct line. But students can talk to you and send you texts, especially if they have the Remind.com app. That's really easy to do. So you do have to make the decision of whether, how comfortable you are with that. You can maybe set some ground rules with your students if you don't want them to be asking you homework questions at 8 p.m., entirely up to you. I don't really mind it. I try to be available as much as possible, but you can make it clear how much or how little you're willing to be available. And you'll see that if you make multiple classes, they all pop up over here, and you can go click on any of them and get to the message history, see the people in the class, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So those are the basics of how I use Remind. I think it's a really powerful tool for reaching out to parents and students. If you use it effectively, I find that it can pretty drastically cut down on the upset conversations you have to have with parents and students. So really recommend you guys try it out, both to reach out to students for individual conversations and to send out mass emails for reminders, to bring books, to read chapters, all that kind of stuff. Really helpful to students, gives them less of an excuse to say they forgot to do their homework. Thanks so much, and hope you enjoyed the video.